Hi guys, Joe Garth here, creator of Brushify.io. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the new Brushify Mars pack. This pack allows you to build Martian environments really rapidly in Unreal Engine. It's got a bunch of different assets and a bunch of different tools and sort of workflows that I've been working on that will allow you to create these environments really quickly. And so that's using techniques like proceduralism, which is sort of like scattering objects really rapidly over the terrain. It's also using an auto material, which is the default Brushify auto material, which you get with this pack. And also alpha brushes, alpha sculpting brushes, which allow you to pretty much add detail really rapidly to the playable terrain. So really it's just a case of, in this video I'll be dressing up a new section of the environment, showing you how you can build your own little environments and make them look good, and how you can sort of use this pack to create your own worlds. Alright, let's jump right in. The first thing I'm going to show you guys is the asset zoo. So this is basically an overview of all of the different assets that you get with the pack. What you have at the top here are alpha brushes. So the basic texture itself is provided, and this is pretty much a height map that can be used to sculpt directly onto the landscape. The alpha brushes also come with a mesh as well, so you get this sort of distance mesh for placement in the backgrounds. And as you can see, there are basically 4 different alpha brushes that you can get, which you can use to sort of sculpt into the landscape. I'm just going to zoom in on those a little bit so you can see the sort of detail that you get. And these are really for use as, sort of distance assets. So it's not really that the player can walk on these, it's more that it's used to sort of dress up the scene in the background. So you have those. And then you also have, for sort of medium distance, a few of these sort of buttes, we'll call them. They're basically big rock formations and sort of cliffs that you can use to decorate hills. And I'll show you the sort of main level in a bit as well, and show you how those are kind of placed in the level, and how you can utilize these to make your scenes look a little bit more dynamic. You've also got a few different sort of Mars rocks, which are sort of just smaller rocks that you can scatter around throughout the level just to give it a little bit more detail up close. Alright, so that's basically the asset zoo, where you can find all of the different assets, and we're going to switch over here to the actual Mars level. Alright, so this is the actual ready-made Mars level. If we go to the top view here, just top, we can see how this works. Basically, this is a 64 square kilometer level, so you can see 8 kilometers across by 8 kilometers across. And you can see that around the edges here, around all the sides, are sort of hand-placed distance meshes. So if we switch back to the perspective, we've got sort of 64 square kilometers here that we can run around on. So zoom out. So that's the 64 square kilometers we can run around on. And then in the distance, we've got all of these sort of hand-placed meshes. And, all of these meshes have a level of detail. So if we move towards them, you can see that they rapidly get higher resolution. And then as we move away, those will downgrade in resolution to quite, sort of save on performance a little bit. But yeah, pretty much this entire map you can run around in, just like all Brushify packs, and you can jump right down into, well, let's go closer to the floor somewhere. You can jump down somewhere into the floor, and just, if we hit play, we can jump in and run around as the player. Just got to give it a second to load. It's quite a big level. But yeah, as you can see, we can run around here as the player, and it's just like playing any video game. And you can, of course, put any game mode you like into this level. So you could drive around as a buggy, or you could have, any game that you really could possibly think about. And yeah, basically drive around and run around, fly around, whatever your game is, you can put it here into this level. So another thing to note is that this is actually all using the Brushify landscape auto material. So if I actually run around here and just go into the landscape, you know, this is the same Brushify auto material that you guys have already been using. And if I go in here, we can actually paint down even grass if we want. And then obviously you'll get grass right here on the surface of Mars. So, I mean, if you want to, you know, options are pretty much unlimited. You've got all the normal options there, like grass and snow and desert, you know, pretty much beach, you know, anything you want. So if you want to design your own sort of alien worlds using Mars as a kind of basis, you know, that's totally possible. And of course, you know, all the usual functionality is there as well. So we can actually go in and, you know, sculpt on the auto material, and you'll see all the usual auto material features of Brushify in action. So yeah, that's just something about, you know, how all of my systems work is they actually have they're all using the same auto material. So actually this is fully compatible with all the rest of the Brushify products that you find on Marketplace. And yeah, the level's really huge, so if I just show that, it's really just like quite a lot of canyons you can run through. And yeah, obviously there are parts that aren't quite as dressed up as other parts, so mainly I've sort of dressed up the center of the level, but you can see how you could dress up areas like this, for instance, that don't have quite as much detail. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly set dress this little area here. So the very first thing I'm going to want to do is add some buttes to the top of these. So I'm going to go to Content, and let's go to the Meshes folder. So yeah, if we go in Brushify, Meshes, Mars, this is where you can find all the different rocks that we saw in the asset zoo. And here we've got Mars Butte 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's just go in here and drag a few of these into the world. It'll take a bit of time just to drag them in, but once they're in, they're sort of loaded. And that's Mars Butte 1. Let's try number 2. But yeah, they're all just sort of interesting, different shapes. And what we can do is we can start sort of, let's just move those away a little. Once we've got a bunch of them in the scene, we can start to place them in sort of interesting ways, you know, the way that might be useful to us. So let's put that one somewhere here. It doesn't have to be perfect at first. Any issues that we see later, we can sort of run in correct. Let's just get some nice patterns or nice sort of silhouettes going. Yeah, something like this maybe. Don't worry too much about intersections at this point. If we see anything really bad later, we can always go in and resolve it. That way around is maybe nice. Maybe bigger. And yeah, so something like that might do. Let's maybe make that a little bit lower. And maybe push this in a little bit. Alright. I always try and avoid any sort of really hard lines. So anytime I can get rid of hard lines, I usually do. Okay, so that's nice. And I think the next thing we need to do is add some sort of smaller rocks. Make that a little bit bigger. Make some smaller rocks as well, because if you can notice, this slope here is a little barren. So the way I'm going to add small rocks is I don't want to do it, you know, individually, one rock at a time. It's much better if I can use the procedural scattering tool. So to do that, I can go to the Modes panel, or, you know, in the Place Actors menu in the later versions, and type in procedural, drag in a procedural volume, and then I'm just gonna expand that, make it a bit bigger, and then here on the details panel right here, I can actually go down, and I'm just gonna find where it says foliage spawner right here, and click the little magnifying glass. And yeah, on the magnifying glass, I can basically find the procedural folder. So I can go Content, Brushify, Procedural, find the Mars folder, and then I can have, I've got two different options here. So one is the bigger Martian rocks, and the other are sort of smaller Martian rocks. I'm going to go in a bit closer here, and we're going to spawn in the Mars rock. So just drag and drop that onto the foliage spawner, and click Resimulate. And here you can see I've got these sort of bigger rocks spawning here. I can also go into the foliage types and actually select these, all of the Mars rocks, and I can actually hit edit. And here I can actually change some of the stats. So if I want to have them spawn, on completely flat areas, I can get rid of the ground slope angle. And you can really adjust all of these settings in the spawner to pretty much anything you want. I've actually got an older video where I show how the procedural foliage spawning system works, so be sure to check out that video on my channel. I'll probably leave the link below, or I'll put like a little thingy up there in the corner, so you guys can link straight to that. But it'll go over all of these settings and how you can more effectively use these spawners. But yeah, this is basically just using the same default Unreal Engine procedural foliage spawning system. But yeah, so that's really how you get the most out of these rock spawners. I'm going to leave something like this, I think. So it just does a lot of the work for you. You don't have to hand place every single rock. I'm going to duplicate this as well. Let's make another one. And I'm going to add a Mars rock small as well. And then let's get in a bit closer because we're going to want to see the difference here. I'm going to hit simulate. And there you can see it's added all these much smaller rocks everywhere. So they're really, really tiny, many rocks. But yeah, all of these have got LODs. So if you get close to the rocks, of course, you're going to get really high-res ones. And then as you get further away, those are going to have less detail. But yeah, all of these assets are sort of, game ready, and, they're ready for you to just throw them down, procedurally generate them, and then you're ready to just start using them and just, jump right into the game and, start running around. So now we've sort of dressed this little area up, we can run around and see how it looks. And of course this is maybe, a little bit boring. Maybe we want to spice it up a little bit. We want to move around some stuff. Maybe we want more interesting looking rock formations here, because that is quite a boring one. Let's maybe spice it up. Move that one here. Maybe we make one like this, a bit narrower. But yeah, it's really sort of trial and error, just placing things, placing different assets in different ways until you find a result that you like. And yeah, if we want, we can also move these, make them a little bit bigger. Move them over here, maybe. Let's grab this one. Scale it down a bit. It's also just, the way that you can use the same assets over and over again. Scaling them up, scaling them down. And this is also really, quite memory efficient, actually. So, it's better to use the same assets over and over. If you ever get issues like this where stuff is spawning on the top of your static meshes, just make sure you untick allow static mesh right here. And then hit resimulate. And that will stop it from spawning on the tops of the meshes like that. So it'll only get it spawning on the landscape. But yeah, and that's really just how you can, really rapidly procedurally generate and do most of the work for you. And from that point on, you can then go in and sort of just, go really crazy with, selecting individual rocks. So like, for instance, I could decide that, I want to go into foliage mode here on the modes panel. I can actually go into select mode, and then I can actually select an individual rock, and, I can move that around. I can scale it up and down. I can decide, what I want to do with it, rotate it, whatever, pretty much. And, obviously if you re-simulate the spawner, you'll lose some of those saved settings, but the idea is just to get sort of 70% of the way there with the procedural stuff, and then, go that sort of extra mile with your own hand placement, making sure that you get really good results. You can also Alt and drag to copy these as well, so you're not stuck with just the instances that got procedurally spawned. You've also got the ability to quickly just copy and paste your own clones of these objects. So that's where, one of the ways you can very rapidly build out scenes, and sort of dress up little areas. And obviously it's like some areas you're going to want, more attention to detail. Maybe you have a cinematic and you really want to make something look more polished. Like here, for instance, I had this kind of horrible intersection going on here. Well, we can try and hide that a little bit, just for that one shot, you know. So I mean, maybe it wouldn't matter so much if it was just a game, but like if you want to make something a little bit more high-end for a cinematic or something like that, you'll maybe want to, you know, put a little bit more polish and time into set dressing your environments. But yeah, that's how you can kind of quickly build out environments that, you know, look quite convincing. We're actually a bit outside the playable zone here, so I've got a few weird artifacts going on. Like this one's actually part of this distance mesh here, so if I want to get rid of that, I can just move that back a little bit. This is snapping. But yeah, there we go. Just kind of move that away. Now we've got more landscape. So yeah, pretty much anything can be adjusted, anything can be, you know, moved around, it can be fixed, it can, you know, we can scrutinize every part of it and polish every part of it. But, you know, that might not be the case that you need to do that for your own game. It could be that your game is already sort of good enough at the sort of level quality that the procedural stuff can provide, in which case, you know, you might just want to very rapidly procedurally generate levels. Yeah, so that's really how you go about just quickly dressing up an area, sort of set dressing an area really rapidly using the Mars pack. And of course, there are a bunch of areas that are already sort of set dressed that you can use and, you know, look around. So if you don't want to do the sort of hard work of creating your own level, you can just use my massive sort of ready-made level. But yeah, in general, it has everything you need to just start creating your own Martian maps. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there are any other features. Oh yes, the alpha brushes. Yeah, that's one more feature I could maybe show. If you go to the landscape tab here, it's usually a tab in Unreal Engine 4, or, you know, this is 4.24 right now, which is the kind of master build that I use. But in other builds of Unreal Engine, this landscape tab might be in a different place. You'll be able to find it on the main panel in Unreal Engine 5 if you guys are using Unreal Engine 5 preview. So yeah, if we click on landscape, we can then open up the landscape panel, and I'm going to go, instead of sculpt, I'm going to choose, yeah, I'm going to keep it on sculpt, but I'm going to choose, instead of circle, alpha. And here you can see I've got a bunch of different brushes here in my alpha brushes folder. That's because I'm using a build that's got all the Brushify maps in it, or packs. All the different products are all in the same project here. But I'm going to use the Brushify Mars alpha brush and just drag and drop that in. And yeah, what we can do is, let's make this brush size a little bit bigger. And as you can see, we've got the landscape here. So this is the actual playable landscape. So this massive landscape here is all playable. But what I can do is basically start to sculpt that. So I'm going to set this to maybe 3 and make sure I click use clay brush. And then once I click, you can see I started to make some indentation in the landscape there. I'm going to undo that and then redo it again with a little bit more strength. Okay, so let's try a bit higher strength. But yeah, you can see how I've quickly created lots of detail there just by sculpting. And maybe I can make this a little bit bigger. And you can also rotate the brush around, and we can also switch. Yeah, so you can rotate it around and then it'll come at a different angle, like that. This is an 8K map, so things do take a little bit more time to load on an 8K map. But yeah, that's how you quickly create detail. And there are lots of different brushes to choose from. So you've got this texture channel slot here, and right now I'm on alpha, but you've also got the red, green, blue channels as well as the alpha channel. So there are 4 different textures that are contained within this one file. So if you've just got that one T_Brushify Mars A, if you've got that one file, you've actually got 4 different maps contained in there. So if I switch this to red, you can see the image there has just changed. And then now I can actually sculpt down on that one. And there we go. Now we have a different mountain coming in. And of course, you know, you have to sort of think about the placement of this. You know, does it make sense within sort of like a larger canyon? You know, am I placing it in a way that's more logical? Obviously, you don't want to just put a random mountain in the middle of a canyon, you'll want to sort of, you know, create, well, let's see, let's try it here. We've got a big empty space. We can make a new sort of mountain range here. So let's try that one again. Let's put that one here. Alright, so we've got this new mountain range formed. Let's try a different one now. Green channel. And you can see where it's going to go because of the sort of faint blue outline that you see before you actually sculpt it. So, yeah, we've got it there. Maybe I want the angle slightly different. So I'm going to just untick that. Maybe like this is better. Yeah, that's good. And then blue channel maybe. We could make a big, yeah, let's make a big one here. Oh. There we go. And now we've sort of started this new mountain range. And then again, you know, now you're in this position where you can start to, you know, grab, you know, one of these butte assets and sort of decorate. And, you know, I looked at lots of reference of Mars when I was building this pack and building the sort of shapes. And, you know, quite a lot of the time it's these sort of larger butte pieces, just sort of like they hang around on the tops of these mountains. So I was looking at the Ridley Scott film, The Martian, which was quite a good reference for this. And, you know, generally, you know, just trying to sort of see if I can get quite close to the sort of Hollywood look, you know, obviously without using tons and tons of resources graphically, because obviously, you know, these are environments, but you also have to run the game at the same time. So it wouldn't be much good if, you know, I have used all of the resources and all the texture memory and all of the poly count and draw calls on the actual environment itself, when you've got to also render, you know, the playable characters, the buildings, whatever it is that that your game is actually all about. So these environments, I try and keep them very, very light. They're not. It's not a tech demo. It's more practical. It's basically a set of game-ready assets. But yeah, I'm still trying to shoot for that sort of Hollywood look, that sort of high-end look. Yeah, I just wanted to speed up this section because I was sort of repeating myself and already, you know, kind of showed the procedural stuff before. But yeah, here I am just procedurally generating a few rocks, altering the slope angle, the density, adding the smaller rocks, and then, yeah, sort of just showing how I complete another little scene. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that quick overview video of the Brushify Mars pack. If it's something that you guys need, be sure to go to Unreal Engine Marketplace and check it out. And also, if you like videos and sort of content like this, be sure to subscribe to my channel because, you know, it helps to get more people looking at the videos and, you know, sort of, you know, watching those and, yeah, helping this kind of channel grow a little bit. Yeah, I think that's basically everything from my side. But yeah, I'm hopefully going to be able to get more products like this out in the future and be getting you more videos like this very soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.